Evening, evening. It is evening. I've just realised that my screen's back to front. Hang on.
See, it throws me when it does that too.
There we
I
are.
think mine's back to front.
We're back. Yeah, evening. Another Q&A session. And your question master again.
Yes.
We'll
Yeah,
get straight into it because
we can do. Yeah.
I need my beauty sleep tonight. I'm
Yeah, you've been busy. Been a busy old boy.
tired. Yeah, going to a gig on a school night is not something I would normally recommend.
Yeah. What, the week of a triathlon as well?
And yeah, I've got a triathlon Sunday, so yeah, that'd be interesting. And then we're going to watch Green Day again next week. So we did the Foo Fighters last night, and then we're going to go and watch Green Day next weekend, but that's on a Friday, so
That won't be too bad. We'll just move the
yeah,
Q&A. You'll be fine.
yeah, we'll sort that out.
Amazing. So we'll just go with the first one on the list. Will not taking creatine for a week affect progress?
Oh, good question. So no, not massively. So creatine, just to remind everybody, is what you call an ergogenic aid. Basically, it's one of the body's energy systems. So you've got creatine phosphate, and then you've got your carbs and your fats. But creatine phosphate is the instant energy kind of source within your muscles. We get it from things like meat and stuff like that, and we have it in our bodies naturally. If you are a meat eater, then you've got a certain amount of creatine in there. If you are plant-based, then the chances are that your creatine levels within your muscles are low. So we can supplement. It is probably the most widely researched supplement, and it's perfectly safe. And the benefits are not just to do with physical performance. So if you take creatine, you saturate the muscle's creatine levels, and it means then that it can convert it to creatine phosphate to kind of access the energy. And it's a short burst. So normally anything up to around about 5 to 8 seconds. So you use it for things like sprinting, weightlifting, stuff like that. And if we saturate the energy levels, then it just means, or saturate the creatine levels, then it just means that we've got more creatine to access. So you've got benefits in terms of weightlifting. So you can lift a little bit more. It's not something that's going to be, oh God, I've taken that, I can lift twice as much. But you can lift a little bit more. Your recovery time's a little bit faster, so you can push a bit harder. And as a consequence, the potential for building more muscle is greater as well. But there are other benefits. So creatine is also used in the brain, and there's been research recently into the benefits of creatine in terms of improving cognitive function. So kind of the ability to solve problems and think. There are some small benefits there. Particularly amongst women with going through perimenopause, one of the symptoms is that kind of brain fog, that fuzziness. There are some bits of evidence that suggests that it can help sort of reduce that and improve kind of the ability to concentrate and think. There's also, if you are somebody who perhaps shift work and you feel tired, then it
Yeah.
can help kind of not make you feel more alert. It's not like caffeine in terms of a stimulant, but it can reduce kind of that tiredness that you get, that kind of fogginess in your head that you get when you're tired. Benefits around mood. So they've actually done a study to show that it has benefits to improve mild to moderate depressive symptoms, amongst a whole host of other things. So the benefits are massive. Now, when you start taking creatine, it's not something you have to build those levels up.
Yeah.
So if you take normally it's around about 3 to 5 grams per day. If you are going through perimenopause, then there are benefits for taking higher amounts as well, so 5 to 10 grams. But yeah, you take that and the levels build up until you saturate your creatine levels. Now, how do you know when you're saturated? Well, for people who do benefit from taking creatine and absorbing it, your body also holds on to water. So you can gain sort of a few pounds in weight, but it's water weight as the muscles kind of hold on to more water. Once your weight gain plateaus, you're saturated. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's absolutely fine. Now, because it can take 30 days or so to saturate the levels, it also means that if you don't take creatine, you're not going to suddenly lose all the benefits. It can
Yeah.
take sort of 30 days for them to return back to baseline levels. So if for I know Carrie's going on holiday, and I liked the comment that she made as well.
Don't want suspicious white powder in a bag yet.
Absolutely, yeah, understand. But yeah, if you don't take it for a week, yes, your levels will drop,
Yeah.
but they're not going to drop back to baseline levels. And then all you've got to do is start taking it again, and they'll it'll take a week. So if you stop taking them for a week, it'll take a week to get them back up to saturation.
Get it back, that last bit.
That's the basic thing, yeah. So yeah, and it's the same with anybody. If you forget to take it, or if you've run out and you're waiting for the to get to the shops, or waiting for your Amazon order to get the next one, if you miss a day, doesn't matter, just take the normal dose as soon as you can, straight away.
That's the thing, you don't need to like double dose it. You can just go back to normal and it will still
Yeah,
pick the same
and
effects.
one of the things, if you do double dose it, so one of the side effects, potential side effects for some people, not everybody, is that it can cause some gastrointestinal distress in terms of bloating.
Yeah.
So if you find that that's the case for you, and it's not common, but if you do find that's the case for you, then all you do is you split the dose. So you might take half in the morning and half in the evening. But if you do double dose, you've got a greater chance of having that kind of GI distress, that pain. So that's just something to be aware of. But if you forget to take it, or you don't take it for a week, just as soon as you get back home, start taking normal dose, and the levels will go back up again quite quick.
Amazing. And then the next one is tips for increasing energy levels. So the additional comments with this one were always seeing high energy levels on the wins for everyone else, and wish I could say yes on that one. But despite losing weight and eating better, I don't feel my energy levels have changed at all.
It's a difficult one because it's a personal. I think it's a personal. It's a personal thing. What's the word I'm looking for? It's the way we perceive things.
Yeah, what someone could feel is, like a really good energy levels for someone else. Like what I might feel is a really high energy day. For you, well, that could be you on a day where you feel really sluggish and tired.
Yeah.
So yeah, personal perception of it, isn't it?
It is, and I think when people sort of see like those comments, see other people mentioning that they've got high energy for the win. It might be that they had quite low energy levels and they were really struggling with it. And then they've noticed that their energy levels are higher. So if you are somebody who has fairly good energy levels going into it, and doing this, and you don't see that massive gain that other people might, it could just be that you had better energy levels initially. Other things as well. I mean, yes, they say mentioning eating healthier and they're exercising. It's also looking at the amount of exercise you're doing and the amount of rest time that you're giving yourself, but then also looking at when you're eating and the type of. So yes, you might be eating healthier, but it could be like you might not be eating at the right times of the day. So it could be that you're not eating, and so for some people they don't eat breakfast. Absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you are finding that you're feeling sluggish mid-morning or around lunchtime, then it could be that introducing breakfast is going to give you that energy boost later on. So perhaps having some slow release carbohydrates like your porridge oats and things like that. If you're feeling sluggish in the afternoon, then look at what you're eating at lunch. So for some people, and I'm somebody like this, if I have a carb-rich lunch, I get a slump about 3 or 4 o'clock.
Yeah, I get really sleepy.
And that's because when you eat carbohydrates, your blood sugar levels will spike up, which is normal, and then your insulin levels will go up. Again, that's normal. It's your body's way of responding to it.
It's okay.
It can then cause those glucose levels, those blood sugar levels, to drop, and then your body needs to kind of release glucose into the blood for you to use, or it's got to oxidize fats to get the energy, and that's not something that happens straight away. So you get that sluggish period. So it could be that you look at what you're eating at lunchtime. So if you're having something that's quite high in carbohydrates, then maybe changing that to something that is maybe higher in protein and lower in carbs. So that could be something that helps there. But again, if you know, look at what you're eating, look at the types of foods as well. Are you eating enough carbohydrates? Are you eating carbohydrates at the right times? Look at how many rest days you're having. You know, are you cramming all your workouts together and then
Yeah.
resting together? So it could be that you need to spread the workouts out. Look at your sleep. Look at your sleep quality. So
Yeah.
are you getting 7 to 9 hours sleep? Are you, you know, is the quality good? Are you waking up in the middle of the night? Is it restless? So think about things that you could do to improve the sleep quality. So stuff like switching screens off before you go to bed, or maybe not eating so close to bed, or checking your caffeine intake. And then other things, look at your hydration levels. You know,
Yeah.
if you're not drinking enough water, then the body it's not as efficient in doing all of the chemical processes. So drinking a little bit more water, or juice or more fluids, maybe getting a bit more kind of some of the electrolytes. So having a look at drinking things like milk or stuff like that, or maybe adding a little bit of salt to your meals to kind of boost the electrolytes. There's no simple answer to this one. It's
Yeah.
something that's dead personal. So it could be one of so many different things, but look at the basics. So look at things like when you're eating, are you eating enough carbohydrates? Are you drinking enough water? Are you sleeping enough? Is the quality of sleep good enough? Are you having enough rest days? You know, are you allowing time each day for you to switch off and relax and unwind? Because again, mental fatigue can kind of refer it
Yeah.
into physical fatigue. So that's something else. Um, but then, you know, there's lots of other things as well. So it could be that if that is not having an impact, then it could be that you need to maybe go and have a blood test, check
Yeah.
things out like iron levels, vitamin B levels, particularly vitamin B12, vitamin D. So there could be an underlying cause there, but look at all the other stuff first.
Yeah. I was going to say, start with that.
Yeah, and
Look at
then
what you can control. If you
yeah,
still feel there's no difference and you are still feeling really sluggish, then go to the doctors, get yourself a blood test, and look
yeah,
from there.
and it could be something really, really simple, you know, because if you're low in vitamin
Yeah.
D, one of the side effects of vitamin D deficiency is lack of energy, lethargy,
Yeah.
and you just take a supplement, and over a period of 1 to 2 weeks, that can relieve that feeling of lethargy. If it's a vitamin B12 deficiency, which again is more common in women,
Yeah.
and particularly women who are going into perimenopause or menopausal, you might need to supplement with a bit of vitamin B12. And in the worst case scenario, you might need to go and get a bit of a booster jab every 8 to 12 weeks. But again, that can suddenly boost the levels and really make a difference. So yeah, have a look at some of the underlying basics that we mentioned. And then if that's not working, just go and get a blood test. And it sounds scary that, you know, when people sort of say, go to the doctors for a blood test, and the doctor goes, oh, you're low in vitamin D. It sounds scary. It sounds like you're doing something wrong. But those deficiencies are they're not normal necessarily, but they're really common. You know, we've got to
Yeah.
look at our
Absolutely.
lifestyles. If you work indoors, you're not getting enough sunlight, and it's really difficult to get vitamin D from the diet alone. Supplementation really helps, and it's
Yeah.
actually a supplement that I would recommend everybody take, especially in the UK. 1,000 IU, which is the equivalent of 25 micrograms.
Yeah.
Having to remember it's 40 the
Yeah.
fraction
That's
in it,
the
yeah.
one.
So
Especially with
yeah,
the summer we're having, we're
I
not
know.
getting vitamin D at the moment.
Not at all. So yeah, I basically I supplement vitamin D daily. I take 2,000 IU because I work indoors and I don't get to see the sun even in the summer.
Yeah.
Plus I burn, so I tend to cover up. So I always take 2,000 IU. And that keeps my vitamin D levels at a very good level. I know that because I've had blood tests and I do get it checked periodically. So and I adjusted. So I used to take 1,000 IU, which put me into kind of the essential vitamin D level range. So it was fine, it was normal. But I boosted it, and now it's in the optimal range. But yeah, so perhaps taking just a vitamin D supplement to start with would help as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, just look at the basics, and if they don't work, simple blood test will help.
Yeah.
Just on that blood test, you do have to specifically ask to check your vitamin D levels. It's not a routine test. So that's something just to bear in mind as well.
Top tip there. I think the other thing is as well, when you're thinking about your energy levels, the other thing that can really help is having that set consistent routine as well.
Yeah.
Because when you're really all over the place in the times that you train, the days you train, when you're resting, like it can be really difficult for your body to settle into that rhythm. So, like you say, it can tie into that mental fatigue as well, where you feel like you're constantly chasing and trying to fit everything in. Whereas setting yourself into a routine with like your food, your exercise, your rest days
Yeah.
can also help
And
like take some of the stress off your body.
that's a really, really good tip as well, because actually when you say, and this, it is a perception, energy levels are
Mhm.
perceived. And we know this around the cycle. We've mentioned it
Yeah.
before with the menstrual cycle. You
Yeah.
know, there are times of the month where you think you're feeling weaker, you're feeling less able to lift. Your actual strength, your actual strength does not change. And they've
Yeah.
done studies into this, but your perceived strength and your perceived energy levels can fluctuate as your hormones fluctuate. So, you know, it's very difficult to, if you've not got a consistent routine and you're not keeping a track of these things, it's difficult to know what's normal and what isn't in terms of energy levels. So
Yeah.
if you're training at different times of the day from one week to the next, you know, you could have a morning session and you might feel more energized there, and then you do an afternoon session, you think, oh, I'm tired. Well, yeah, you've done a day's work. Or it could be vice versa, you know, you're tired in the morning and a bit more energized. So consistency is really important so that we can actually monitor what those energy levels are really like. um but you know, sometimes the other thing, one last thing I will add, is that if you've been doing something like this, you know, if you've been exercising and eating well consistently for a period of time, it's worth building in, and we've discussed this before, it's worth building in those breaks. So
Yes.
having a
Absolutely.
week where you eat at maintenance, because eating in a deficit will cause you to feel tired. So maybe have a
Yeah.
week where you eat up to maintenance. um Maybe have a week where you dial back the workout. So if you're doing 4 or 5 a week, 1, 2 or 3, yeah, and
Yeah.
maybe, or even none at all, and just walking and being active in that respect. Or if you're still going to the gym, dial back in terms of the weights, you know, maybe do 2 sets instead of 3 or 4, maybe dial the weights back by sort of 50, 60, down to 50, 60%, just to give your body that opportunity to relax and recover.
Yeah. Perfect. And then I guess that does nicely bring us on to the next one, which is in our workouts, can we add more sets into them if we feel that we're able to?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Simple answer to
Absolutely.
that one,
Yeah.
definitely. It's
Yeah.
another way we've said before, haven't we, on like just increasing like that muscle building from
Yeah.
that one. If you can't necessarily like, lift a heavier weight, you can add in the extra sets or slow it down your tempo. But yeah, like you say, nothing wrong with adding in an extra set at
Yeah,
all.
and I think also you've got to look at, so if you I'm imagining that one's from Gemma.
No.
Oh.
Oh, this was Katie.
All right. Okay. Yeah. No, absolutely. Well, the reason I said Gemma, I know Gemma's doing home workouts. So if you're at home and you're limited in the weight that you are using,
Yeah.
it might be that you need to do more reps or more sets to be able to push the body to that point close to failure where you're feeling like this is hard. So
Yeah.
adding those extra sets in is absolutely fine. If you're in the gym, and again, like you've just said, if you can't push the weight up because the gap is too big, maybe add an extra set on. But absolutely, there is nothing wrong with doing that if you feel, especially with exercises that you like, or
Yes.
exercises that you want to build in an area. So let's say you're wanting to build leg strength or you're wanting to build glutes, then yeah, doing extra sets is going to benefit. It's going to be beneficial. The only reason we kind of prescribe a kind of a set range of sets is time. You know, a lot of people are restricted on time, but if you've got more time in the gym than others, then absolutely do the extra sets.
Perfect. And then final one is how much fiber do we need and how can we get it in?
So this is something that I was asked this week in the gym, and I thought it was a great question. I
Yeah.
did give the answer to the person on the day, but it's a really really good one to kind of go over. So fiber, obviously there's a big thing on fiber at the moment around, especially those around the carnivore diet, saying the body doesn't need it. Do we need it? No. Should we be eating it? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the first thing, is you don't need fiber, but the benefits from fiber are massive. There's lots and lots of studies in it, but effectively for every 10 grams of fiber that you can consume on a daily basis, you are reducing your risk of what they call all-cause mortality. So the risk of dying from all sorts of different conditions by 10%. So 10 grams of fiber extra reduces that risk by 10%, which is massive. It's a huge thing.
Yeah.
But particularly it can help, obviously, reduce the risk of things like cardiovascular disease, certain types of cancer, um, diabetes. It can help with weight management, all sorts of things, healthy gut. So if you are somebody who suffers with things like um, irritable bowel syndrome or digestive issues, then the right amount and the right types of fiber can really benefit. Now, you do have to be careful if you are somebody who's got IBD, so irritable bowel disease, so things like colitis, Crohn's, stuff like that. Then yes, you've got to be a little bit more careful. So the advice I'm going to give is giving to people with healthy digestive systems. Effectively, it's about 14 or 15 grams of fiber per 1,000 calories consumed. Okay, that's kind of the aim, right? And that's not I need to aim to get up to that. That is kind of a minimum aim, right?
Yes.
So the average person, so let's say for the average woman eating around 2,000 calories, which is the recommended amount,
Yeah.
the government guidelines as the general recommendations. This just reminds me of a comment about it. I'll come to that in a minute. Um, Obviously, calorie intake depends on all sorts of different factors. So age, height, weight, gender, activity levels. But let's say the average person is consuming 2,000 calories, then they should be eating around 28 to 30 grams of fiber as a minimum target. For men, it's higher. So you're looking at sort of 35 to 45 grams of fiber as a minimum target. All right. The scary thing is that the average person in the UK today is probably consuming around 15 grams of fiber or less. All right, which is it is shocking. But remember, I said that fiber is not essential. Okay, it isn't essential, but the health benefits are massive. So yeah, if you're currently aiming, so if your calorie deficit diet is around 1,500 calories, then eating around about 20 to 25 grams of fiber is kind of your aim. All right,
Yeah.
as a minimum aim. Minimum aim. If you eat more than that, fine. Okay. The other thing with fiber, if you're currently only eating 10 grams and then suddenly try and push it up to 30 or 40 grams of fiber,
Yeah.
your body will notice that difference. So do not be surprised if you experience some bloating. That's normal. There are two things you can do. You can either dial back the fiber intake and increase it slowly, or keep it at that level and your body will adjust. But
Yeah.
it takes a few weeks. And this is the other thing with the
Yeah.
gut microbiome and your digestive system, the changes can take 2 or 3 weeks. So be patient. It's not one of those things that you start taking something and it's all sorted. Now, how you can increase it, I'll let you answer that one in a minute. But one thing I will say is don't be suckered into taking greens powders. We talked about this before. That's a big one at the moment. So they've got like,
Yeah.
fiber supplements and greens powders and stuff. Just no,
You
they're
don't
not.
need.
Don't need them.
Yeah, you don't need them.
How would you recommend they increase?
So for fiber, the best way to increase your fiber is to get in your fruit and veg. So look at where you get those sources from. Leafy greens are a really good source of fiber.
Yeah.
So that's a really great place to start, is to just increase your fruit and veg intake. That will naturally increase your fiber intake as well.
Yeah.
There are other ways that you can do it. So if you're thinking about like your carb sources, if you look at ones that are like your whole grains or like your whole wheat pastas, they will contain more fiber than your whites. So same like your bread,
Yeah.
pasta, rice, all of those things. Then you've also got your others, so like your seeds.
Yeah.
Um, like chia seeds are a really good one, flax seeds, adding them to smoothies, in your porridge, or anything like that.
Yeah.
They will add, as well as like your omega-3s and your fatty acids, they're a really good source for your fiber as well.
Yeah.
And then the other one is like your beans.
Yeah.
So things like your kidney beans, chickpeas, they're another good one. Um, like yeah, mixed bean salads is what I'll tend to put in like a chili rather than just kidney beans. So you're getting like the benefits from all of them. But yeah, all of those are probably like the main go-tos,
Those are your
really.
main go-tos. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
avocado is another good one
yeah,
for
it is.
fiber as well.
And it really, what you've just said is you've given some really good advice on how to do it as well. So things like adding chia seeds to things like your overnight
Yeah,
oats or your smoothies or flax seeds. Berries are good. So with
yeah,
fruits, things like raspberries, 100 grams of raspberries is 7 grams of fiber, for about 44 to 50, 45 to 50 calories.
yeah.
So it's high
Really
volume
good.
and really
Yeah,
low calorie, low, and high fiber. Any of the berries, so blackberries, raspberries, strawberries, blueberries, they've got fiber. Like you say, leafy greens, your pulses and your legumes. So
yeah,
one of the things that I'll do if I'm having something like a bolognese, I might switch out a portion of the mince and add in lentils.
yeah.
That
That's a
gives you
really
that
good one. Yeah,
fiber and it also gives you some protein as well. Um, but the key thing is get it from a range of sources. Don't just,
yeah.
the problem with having, like, you'll get these fiber gels that they sort of say, oh, put it in a drink, and it's
Gross.
it, it is gross. It's like drinking wallpaper paste, but it what they don't tell you is that's one type of fiber. What we need is
Yeah,
a variety. So we need a mixture of soluble and insoluble fiber. So you get
yeah,
your soluble fiber is from things like your nuts and seeds, and then your insoluble fiber is stuff you get from your whole grains, so your bran, and your green veg and berries and stuff like that. And just getting that range in, and they have different kind of impacts on the body and on the digestive system, but we need that range. There's another little tip. If you are prepping food like pasta or rice and you are reheating it,
yeah.
so those starches, when you reheat, and the same for bread, so if you chill them and then heat them, the starches are converted from normal starch into a resistant starch, which is, it acts a little bit like fiber, in terms
Okay.
that it's hard for the body to digest. So we don't actually get all the calories from those starches as we would do if they weren't cooled down and reheated. So
Yeah,
it can be a boost if you're trying to get into a calorie deficit.
yeah,
But it also acts as a prebiotic for the gut, so it can help promote a healthy gut, and sort of acts as a little bit of fiber going through as well. So
yeah.
there's a little tip. So
The other one to add to that is, especially when reheating rice, just be really careful. Make sure it's definitely heated through.
yeah, and it's with that one, it's the whole rice thing. I mean, it's something that people are a little bit um worried about, a bit concerned, because they've had this thing, like, oh, you get food poisoning from rice. And yes, there is a certain bacteria that is found in rice, but if you have cooked it properly, if
And
you
reheated it
cool it
quickly.
quickly as well, don't just leave it
Yeah,
on the side to cool down, but if you cook it properly, rinse it and then cool it quickly, um, and then reheat it properly, it's perfectly fine. You've got to think that these microwave rice, that they can
yeah,
store in
that is
packets
exactly
for
what it
months.
is.
It's
Yeah.
exactly that. So they've
I
just,
will, yeah, reheat anything.
yeah,
I'll eat things that are past their use by date as long as it smells okay. I'm not, but some people, like you say, they do get quite worried.
they
So
do,
yeah,
yeah.
it's just
So
one of those to make sure it's reheated properly. That's the same with anything,
yeah,
and you'll be absolutely fine.
cool it quickly, reheat it thoroughly, make sure it's piping hot. Or if you can eat rice cold, you can eat
Yeah.
it's
I was going to ask, yeah, does it have the same benefits if it's just cooled, or does it have to be cooled and then reheated?
oh, that's a good question. I think it's got to be cooled and reheated to get the full benefit. You will get some resistant starch forming when it's cooled, but I think the process of reheating it
Okay.
Again, it changes some of the bonds between the molecules so that it makes it harder to digest. That's the
There you
kind
go.
of the chemical processes underneath it. But yeah, it's an interesting one, that one.
There you go.
But yeah, fiber is, yeah. So generally, as a rule of thumb, for women, if you're aiming for around about 25 grams plus, and then for men, 35 grams plus in terms of your fiber, you can eat more than that. But be careful if you eat too much. Um, if you massively increase it very quickly, then yeah, you're going to feel the impacts. But yeah, get it from a variety. So lots and lots of different things. And as Alice said, you've got things like chia seeds in your breakfast, adding berries to it, swapping in sort of mince for some of your lentils, adding beans into things like chilies. Avocados are a good source. They're also a healthy source of fat. And then
Yeah.
switching some of your starches from some of the starchy foods from your white stuff into whole grain. But yeah, just it's little and often really. It's looking at where you can add it in, and
Yeah.
there'll be some days where you eat more, some days where you eat less. That's absolutely fine, as with everything.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Cool.
Perfect. That's
Had it.
all of them.
Hey, quick one today.
There you go. Early night for you, well.
Definitely an early night. I need to recover. I need my beauty sleep for the next 2 nights and see how I do on this triathlon,
Yeah.
which will be
Well, good luck.
interesting. It will
We'll
be
hear all
interesting.
about it next week.
Yes, if I'm still here.
After all that swim practice you've done, Will, you'll be fine.
Yeah, we won't mention that. Yeah, I think what did I say, about maybe 4.5 years since I
Or
last actually did. I've been in the pool, but I'm not actually swum lengths for about 4.5 years. So it'll be interesting to see how that swim goes.
at least it's first.
Yeah, yeah, it is first, and I've got a wetsuit to keep me warm in the lake, so
Yeah,
we'll
you'll be
see.
fine.
We will see. I'll tell you all about it next week.
Yeah, can't wait. Enjoy.
All right, guys, that's it for us. We will catch you again next time. But yeah, for tonight, bye for now.
Bye.